Welcome in, everyone. We are in NFL Week 3 already. 2 weeks in the books. Still overreaction, kind of part of the season. Only 2 games in, and a lot of people just fuming on the social medias. We're not going to do that here. We got a lot of good matchups to break down for you. Talk about data. Talk about some surprise performers, both individually and from a team perspective. Give you our model output. Let's get into it.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today, not today.
All right. And as a reminder, we are BTB Analytics. Kevin, Seth, and Steve here with you. Glad to be back, gentlemen. Let's talk about some matchups, shall we? We got no Thursday night game on the slate for us to talk about because it's kind of a whatever matchup. So let's move ahead to Sunday. Early slate. Texans and the Minnesota Vikings. And this one is interesting. I know we're going to get into some specifics with some player data here, but Seth, I want to kick it to you first. So we're on this is a model pick for us, not to bury the lead. We're on Vikings plus 2.5 here. But tell me about top 2 performer in the league, Sam Darnold, and the Minnesota Vikings just taking the league by storm.
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota right now is the 11th overall pass EPA team and the 7th rushing EPA team. So probably no one is on nobody's bingo card except us. We have over 7.5. We're not very surprised by this, to be honest. But they're actually coming, in clutch. I would say defensively. We're talking about the 9th team against the pass and the 10th team against the rush. And obviously, this is against one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in San Francisco. The interesting thing about this game and what the model is picking up on, I think, is that Houston has been a really interesting team. I don't know that they're very much who we thought they were offensively. We're talking about that overall 8th pass efficient team and the 21st against the rush. So struggling struggling with the run there. The one thing I would say, though, is Houston on defense has actually stepped up a bit. But I want to point something out here. If you look at the echo rate over expected here for the Houston Texans, it looks insanely good. They're only allowing 33% of drives to get to the 40 or better. Really interesting, except they've faced 2 rookie quarterbacks in week 1 and week 2. I'm still calling Anthony Richardson a rookie quarterback with less than 6 starts and then going against,
that's fair.
Yeah, and then going against Caleb. So that's a number that I think is really, really intriguing. But you asked specifically about Sam Darnold. If you're new here, this is going to be a graph we're going to pull up. But for those that have followed us and looked at the past, something we've looked a lot at is quarterback volatility versus EPA. So we want to understand, okay, how efficient are quarterbacks on a per play basis, but what does their volatility look like on a per play basis? So what you can see here is on the x-axis, we have their EPA per play. So how good are they? And we can see Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, they're balling out. But on the y-axis here, we can see how consistent they are on a per play basis. Sam Darnold, he is off the charts with his volatility. What this means is he's the most volatile quarterback right now in the NFL, meaning from a per play down to down situation, you're either getting, basically mediocre to kind of neutral plays or big explosive plays. Now, this isn't as bad, so don't, I don't want to cause any alarms here. It's just a very interesting thing. This is not the worst quadrant he could be in. That lower left quadrant would be the worst of the worst, where he's very, very much not volatile, but he sucks on every play. So this is, if you want a kind of gunslinger quarterback, Sam Darnold's your guy, because that is what he's looking like this season, and something really, really interesting. Obviously small sample size, but something that kind of I thought was worth talking about today as we're kind of getting this data as he's, starting once again.
Yeah, I think I forget what I said right at the kickoff, but top 5 in the league right now, Sam Darnold is. Again, small sample size in EPA and completion percentage over expectations. So whatever they got going on there in Minnesota, early goings, it is working here for sure. Yeah, this one's fascinating. I don't feel good about the fact that the model likes this one, to be honest. I think, to your point about the Texans going up against rookie quarterbacks, or Anthony Richardson being one of them, I just don't. I don't know if the Texans have come to the point yet that maybe a lot of teams or a lot of people expected them to be in terms of offensive efficiency. I think they have a lot to be. They have they have their own shoes to fill, basically. Still, Joe Mixon's out. He's going to be. I don't know how long he's going to be on the shelf for now. That's kind of a big deal for them, in my opinion. But I could very easily see this Texans team basically just figuring it out this week. To your point about Sam Darnold, if he has one of those games where it is a lot of those neutral plays or a lot of those negative plays, in fact, frankly, this could, in my opinion, get a little bit sideways. But again, listen to the market here a little bit. I guess trying to talk some sense into myself. Like, this is a coin flip game as far as the market is concerned, right? So maybe it will be a lot closer than I'm giving it credit for. But this one scares me. I don't know why. This one scares me.
Yeah, that makes one of us. I love this bet. I love this bet through and through. And if you look at strictly from an EV standpoint, we make the number Vikings -3 and then opening spread was +3. And so, you can see the edge percent there, nearly 12%. This is still, if you make the number -3, this is still a plus EV bet at money line, which I've gone off the rails here. And I say off the rails. I've gone off script at least and have sprinkled on money line Vikings as well. I think this is a sneaky good play. We talk about Sam Darnold, number 5 in QBR rating this year. So Kevin, to your point about, the negative plays, and that does take into account turnovers, penalties, everything like that. I mean, Sam Darnold is playing well. You're getting Jordan Addison potentially back this week. Yeah, there was some concern with Justin Jefferson and that quad or thigh contusion, but he seems confident that he's going to play. So I fully expect this offense to come out. And this defense, you can see there the defensive expected points at -4.2. I mean, this is one of the teams. I mean, they're right up there, in the top, I think 6, 7 defenses in terms of expected points on that side of the ball. So I think this is a good matchup for the Vikings.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, Houston, I think what we're seeing here is this is a new regime, right? I mean, yeah, you added Stephon Diggs. You have to get CJ Stroud to now get the ball to 3 hungry mouths between him, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and then, we're talking about Joe Mixon and the ankle injury, but that's a lot of mouths to feed. They haven't quite figured it out yet. Nico has had 2 100-yard games. He's doing fine, but they haven't quite figured out that distribution between Stephon and Tank. And to your point, if they figure it out, they get it all well, could it be, amazing and bad for us? Sure. But I think what you're actually seeing here is a team that has been mediocre so far that still needs more time to kind of get their things together. But that's been masked by playing, 2 decent defenses, but 2 really poor offenses. I mean, let's be honest here. The Bears had a chance to win that game on the final drive of the game. And Caleb played like absolute trash. And that's not fair. It's not Caleb's part. It was the O-line and everything else. But you get the point here. I think the difference, what you're going to find between not just rookie quarterbacks, but an efficient offense is Houston's not going to have that luxury of having a stuttering offense that can't get out of its own way. I think you're going to see Sam Darnold and that crew really push the ball. And I love the spread bet. And again, I'm on the money line.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you're crazy. I mean, I couldn't be more in alignment here, Steve. Kevin, I think you've made some points here, but I want to make some counterpoints. You're talking about this team hasn't clicked yet, but how and why do you think they're going to be able to do it against Minnesota? 9th against the pass, 10th against the rush. Remember, you talked about Mixon being out. Oh yeah, this team is 21st rushing the ball. Houston is. So this is a team that already couldn't rush the ball, probably wasn't going to be leaning on it, but they already lost their one guy that could do it well. And then you're going to have to throw the ball. Oh, you have to go against a top 10 passing defense. So I think you're not going to see, to Steve's point, you're not going to see the same mistakes on offense from Sam Darnold. And so what are you going to do there if you're not, a lot of what's kept them in this game has been their defense. They only won that Bears game because of their defense. They had 2 interceptions. I don't think Sam Darnold is going to have those problems here. Now we're seeing volatility, but this is basically him having explosives and then non-explosive plays, not mistakes and then mediocre plays, right? There's a very different, a hue to his volatility. It's not mistakes. It's just boom or neutral, which is not bad. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, and we saw that same thing with Tua, right? We saw it last year.
Yeah.
Last year we saw with Tua was
same thing.
Positive EPA, create volatility. Yeah,
if we bring it back up, somehow Sam Darnold passed the volatility god in Tua. He's right there.
Yeah, and so what you're seeing, right? So your success point, right? You look at, remember we talked about Tua's heat map last week. He has a lot of dinks and dunks, screen passes, bubble screens, that kind of stuff. And then you have, oh yeah, the 40-yard bombs, Tyreek or Jalen Waddle. So him being in that top right quadrant, even though he's very volatile, being on the right side of that line there really makes you feel a lot more comfortable than if he's somewhere where like Will Levis is and he's just throwing a ball, getting yelled at this coach for making dumb interceptions 2 weeks in a row.
All right, you've quelled my fears a little bit. Good job, guys. All right, we'll see what happens though. Again, we got Vikings plus 2.5, but yeah, should be. We'll see if Sam Darnold can continue to keep up his pace.
If Addison and Jefferson play, this is moving. I think it gets to a pick 'em. This may even close -1 Minnesota.
Okay, we'll see. Early in the week, we'll see how it shapes out. Let's move on. We got a couple other matchups to hit on. This next one, fascinating for a couple of different reasons, in my opinion. The Detroit Lions and the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, this is maybe I was projecting a little bit with the Texans. Like, would you agree with me in this case that the Lions, have not quite found their footing on offense yet, relative to who they were last year, at least? They're so far, again, early going in the season. They're basically middle of the pack in major offensive metrics. 17th in EPA per play, or 18th if you want to measure, offensive DVOA. But then Arizona, surprisingly, for playing Buffalo well, then just absolutely routing a decimated, injured Rams team. But they are third in EPA and fifth in offensive DVOA, respectively. So no edge on this one as far as our model is concerned. We make the number 3. That's kind of where the market is still. But yeah, Steve, I don't know what's the key for the Lions in this one, in your opinion? Because on paper, they're the better team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think, if we're looking at this point, it's going to have to be, can they stop this Cardinals offense, which, we looked at week 1, they had the Cardinals, had that 28-34 loss. They were beating the Bills, at least for the first half, for most of that game. And then they came back and then the Bills won. And so they're picking up steam though, right? If you look at the Cardinals here, Kyler Murray, MVP. I maybe getting a little ahead of myself here, but he did finish last game with a perfect passer rating. Let's just call that an effect. And then this is the second game in a row where this offense has put up points without really involving Marvin Harrison Jr. throughout the entire game. Now, yes, he went off for 4 catches, 2 tutties, but that was all in the first quarter. He didn't have a catch after the first quarter, which is absolutely insane. So, if this is an offense that can really continue to grow, where we've seen evidence that they're already timing up, you have him, Trey McBride, James Conner, by the way, running the ball. Like, this offense could be pretty scary. And I think for me, the difference between having hope in the Cardinals clicking versus the last game we're talking about and, Texans and what are they doing is you're already seeing signs of that. You look at the Bills, look at the Cardinals offense against the Bills. They had average EPA per play of 0.003. Against the Rams, it was 0.328. So it's not a figurative speech to say this offense at least was literally 100 times better than they were the week before. So, I think this is a team that you're seeing on the upswing. And from the Lions standpoint, you see both of these teams have the positive defensive EPA or expected points. So you want them to be negative. That's not great. But I think this is something where you're seeing an uptick in the Cardinals offense. And I'm not entirely sure that this is going to be a cakewalk for the Lions.
Yeah, I think everything is true. This I wanted to, when I started to look at the data, I was like, okay, this is interesting. You made a point, Kevin, where you're like, Detroit hasn't kind of filled up to their shoes, and Arizona maybe be overperforming. And I don't know the answer here, but I thought these numbers were different. If we look at our 15-game rolling average sample, these teams are extremely on 2 different ends of the spectrum. Yeah. We're talking about the 5th overall offense for Detroit, and we're talking about the 31st overall defense for Arizona, and then the 24th overall offense for Arizona and the 29th for Detroit. But in so far, what we're looking at in this 2024 season is Arizona is the 3rd most pass efficient team and the 13th most rush efficient team. But Detroit is the 25th most pass efficient team and the 1st rushing efficiency team. So we're seeing Detroit struggle throwing the ball. But yet again, in that 15-game sample, they're the 5th overall team. The question I have here is, we're looking at Arizona 21st against the pass. Is this the game when we talk about regression to the mean? We see Detroit regress to this 5th overall offense through the passing, and we see, the team that we think we're going to see for Detroit. That's my question here. I think it's a good price line. I don't see an edge one way or the other. But look, we know that people are looking for ways and angles to bet here. That's to me the bet. If you think Goff is going to get better, get in form, this is maybe the game to do it, because Arizona might be susceptible through the run or through the pass. And we know they can already run the ball. And this might be the game where they kind of lean on Goff a little bit more, try to get more confidence, try to throw it a little bit more. And I think they could potentially win given that angle. The other problem with that advice, though, is I don't think we know yet which direction Arizona is regressing to. The problem is with the Cardinals sample is, remember, Kyler was out for the first 8 weeks. So we're getting a mix of data here. We have a bunch of data with the Rocket Man and, a bunch of backups. That's obviously going to affect the team. And we saw when Kyler came back, this team, they won some games that they were 10-point dogs against Philly. I mean, they went into Pittsburgh and won. So I'm not quite certain that we actually know who Arizona is one way or the other. And it looks like they're giving us more and more data that this team might actually be quite good.
Yeah, I agree. And then the last point I'll have in terms of like angles here. Can we pull up the QB volatility chart one more time? I want to see where Goff is, because for my money, he's the one who's like underperforming the most on this team, relative to last year. So yeah, he's in that bottom left corner ever so slightly.
Yeah.
You see him right there. So
is Goff going to turn back into a pumpkin? Like it's been the Geno hate podcast for the last couple of years. Is Detroit,
Yeah. I mean, he did not have a good game last week. 2 picks and 2 more that were dropped, basically. So
yeah. The producer just asked, does our data calculate him against Call of Duty? Yes, we crunch the numbers. We make sure we're getting closer and closer to the new Call of Duty. So you got to make sure you're getting your numbers adjusted for Kyler when it strikes midnight. Yeah, I don't know. I get it. You want to have action. You're a Cardinals fan, Kevin. I get it. If you made me have action, I think I'm going to lay the 3 and take Detroit, because I think Goff just has too many weapons. That offense has been so efficient. I don't think it's that the league figured it out. I think that they've just struggled. And I think Arizona might be the team they get right with.
The one thing I'm looking at for this game from a betting perspective, I'm going to keep an eye on when the player props go live and the rushing attempts for Detroit players. Cardinals can't stop anybody against the run. They got gashed. They did okay against a beat up Rams offensive line last week, but no, it's not looking great. So props aren't even live for this coming week yet, but that's something where I think the Lions are going to be able to really, really key in and capitalize for this game. So,
all right, can I ask you a quick question though before we move on? So,
please.
Seth, you said you at this point you think you have to lay the points with the Lions. Because I have a slightly different. I mean, for me at 3 and less, I'm kind of staying away just personally. I know that's officially not a bet for us, but at 3.5, I think I'm taking the. Everything you said, I agree with you, but I'm taking the opposite conclusion in that we don't know exactly who this Arizona team has been because of the absence of Kyler. And so can 3.5 actually be enough to say, I think this is mispriced, or better yet, I think it's mispriced. I don't think anyone actually knows. And 3.5, if we make the number 3, for me, that's EV. If at that point.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good call out. Yeah, I can't argue it. The problem is like I'm not good at kind of 1 foot in the model, 1 foot out, and I think that you have to kind of use that logic to get to that 3.5. And I think it's kind of the most combination of using what we know and what we can project. The only reason I say is lay the 3 is because in my mind, if we're going to see Goff go off and we're going to see him have success through the air, it's just hard for me to envision these drives where they're throwing the ball and then they just stop in the red zone and then they have to kick field goals. So I'm kind of projecting out, well, they're going to score touchdowns. And then, you end up more covering by 4 or 7 than you end up covering, and you end up covering the -3. That's kind of the logic there. But I don't disagree with anything you said. I just don't think at all what you're buying at all.
Yeah,
I would say, Kevin, based off what you said, though, our numbers, which I don't know where you're getting the numbers that I have, at least I'm showing that Arizona is more susceptible against the pass than the run. I have them 13th pass rush EPA on defense for Arizona. So to me, you're talking about a pass funnel team potentially here. where they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, not running the ball. Now, are they more efficient on the ground with yardage and things like that? Maybe, but just something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, I can't filter this, so I can't give you the ranking. That's not working for me. But yeah, they're only 43% success rate against the rush and negative 0.14 against the rush and rushing EPA. So anyhow, I don't know. It seems like a lot of uncertainty with this game, at least
A lot of uncertainty
between us. But somebody's watching out there definitely has an opinion. Let us know what you guys think in the comments here. Who takes this game? Do the Lions get back on track? Do the Cardinals keep their ascension going? Let us know what you think in the comments. And also while you're here, please don't forget to like the video, give the channel hit subscribe on the channel if you could. Helps us tremendously. Lets us know you guys like this kind of content, and we'll keep coming back, doing it every week for you guys. Next game up, we got another one, an interesting one: Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints. And howdy doody. Okay, number one, we're on Saints 2.5 here. Minus 2.5. But damn, how about it? Who day? Who day? Because my goodness, the Saints have absolutely come out the gates on fire. Derek Carr atop the charts in most of the advanced metrics, just absolutely, frankly, taking the league by storm. I don't think anybody anticipated the level of dominance, we'll just call it, that the Saints have displayed early on. So Seth, what's your takeaway for this game, and how do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I love this bet one, and I got to push back on that. I think, we have over 7.5. I know I have for them to make the playoffs. I have to say, this is the Saints have been good. We're just, I think, seeing it all kind of be pulled through. We're talking about in our 15-game sample, this is the number 2 overall defense currently through the first 2 games, 3rd on the pass, 2nd against the rush. So we're basically showing that they are in that 15-game sample who they've been and who they are this season. Now, offensively, this is where I think people are, saying, oh, wow, this team is something to be, to keep an eye out. We have them 13th in that 15-game sample, and currently we have them as the number 2 pass and rush offensive EPA. The biggest thing in this game and why I love this is Philly has not fixed their problems on defense, period, point blank. They're still 25th against the pass and 29th against the rush, and they shit the bed on Monday Night Football in front of everybody. Boo Philly. I love this bet. I hope my hatred for Philly is just pouring through right now, because not only do I love this bet, I just want to root so bad against Philadelphia, and I just think that they have not plugged the issues. I know they went and tried. It's not for lack of effort, and maybe they figure it out throughout the season, but I don't think that this is the offense you're going to figure out your passing issues. I mean, we saw how much Kirk Cousins struggled against Pittsburgh, and he could do however he wanted, including a 1-minute drive down the field to win in Philadelphia. This is just crazy. New Orleans, 76% echo rate. I mean, this is insanity. This is insanity. But the thing there is, though, look at Philly's defensive echo rate. 63%. They're allowing 63% of their drives teams to get to the 40 or better. How are they going to slow the Saints down? I don't think they are. This is a steal at 2.5. I'm looking at the odds screen right now. You could still get 2.5s. It's a steal. It's a steal. It's a steal. Christmas came early.
Okay. All right. Steve, I don't know. I mean, is Seth blinded by his hate for Philly here in this one, or do you agree?
I mean, yeah, he's for sure blinded, but he's right. Like, he's absolutely right still. Doesn't mean, he's wrong. I do want to do a quick call out before we get roasted in the comments. It's who dat. Who dat for the Saints. Who days for the Bengals. All right, let's everyone chill in the comments. All right, we're sorry.
All right.
We'll make our edits.
Lil Wayne didn't even get the halftime show, so is it even all that important?
Oh man, I can go on a whole tangent about that.
Okay,
Kendrick definitely not. I know where he's at, but it wouldn't. He can't remember his own lyrics. But no, well, that's a competition for another time. No, man, these Saints are scary. Listen, Clint Kubiak has that offense absolutely rolling. And Steph already put out all the stats that we typically look at, expected points, echo rates, seeing how efficient and consistent these offensive drives are. But you look at it, you want to take a step back just as a common fan. the Saints starting offense has scored on their first 15 straight possessions. Now, they had the backups came in week 1 and they had some punts and whatnot, but there were 15 possessions in a row where that starting offense scored. And this is absolutely insanity in terms of how good this team looks and is playing right now. And again, I call back to what Seth had already said. My issue is going to be the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles. I mean, we saw that Kirk Cousins game-winning drive. He was not pressured once on any of his dropbacks. If you give Derek Carr that much time, he is going to pick them apart. And let's not forget, if you want to look at QB ratings, Derek Carr is the #1 QB in the league. Give credit where credit is due. So, yeah, I mean, I think this low-key, like, I love the bet. I'm on a 2.5. I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm just saying as a fan, I'm not betting this, but this could get very ugly. Philadelphia still has not figured out whatever it is where they are just sort of collapsing. I think they're really second only to the Ravens in terms of late game collapses. So I've got the Saints all the way. I mean, this is going to be a beatdown.
Yeah, and just to be clear, because we ran these numbers that you're seeing here before Monday night, so after Monday night is when we ended up getting the new data and placing the 2.5, and the market reopened. So we make this number -4 in order in favor of Saints. 2.5 shows about 7% edge. Market's already starting to buy this. You can only get expensive 2.5s. I still think there's edge at an expensive 2.5. But the 3, you lose a lot of it. So yeah, we're not unreasonable here, but we're talking, we're talking a field goal win. If not, win by 4. And to your point, I wouldn't get crazy here either. Philly is definitely very efficient offensively. They have figured it out. I don't think they're going to have AJ Brown for this game, I believe. So that's obviously a big hit. But this is a team that could move the ball, no doubt. And they have been, offensively efficient. They, even in our 15 game sample, they're the 7th overall offense, and they're still pretty good this year. It's just, I don't understand how they're going to stop the Saints offensively. So if we're looking at a shootout, that doesn't go well for the Eagles.
No, it does not. Yeah, and I forget if you said this explicitly, Steve, but yeah, Derek Carr, again, early goings, but #1 quarterback in terms of EPA per dropback and CPOE. So he is balling.
Yeah, I don't want to oversimplify this, but to Steph's point, but this goes back to what we're talking about. You mentioned the Eagles are able to move the ball, and we saw them, quite frankly, struggle against the Falcons there, and they put up points against the Packers. So far, I mean, the Saints. Call back to what we have on the graphic there. The Saints have an even better defense than the Falcons do. Now, It doesn't mean that from game to game it doesn't mean necessarily from one game to the other, but the point being is that the issues that plague Philadelphia, potentially that could be there, could still be there coming into this week. Now, listen, of course, Saquon catches that ball, Philly runs the clock out, they win. Yeah, sure, you can make that argument, but this is one where, again, Atlanta's offense is nowhere in the same stratosphere as New Orleans' offense, and I think that combination of great offense, great defense is what's going to doom potentially Philadelphia in this game.
Yeah, and as I also to point out there, based off what you just said, Atlanta's defense is nowhere near the Saints defense, right? Like, so it's going to be much harder to have that wide open pass on 3rd down to win the game in the first place. So, yeah, I obviously love this bet.
Yeah. All right, I already forget what you said, Steve. It's who dat?
Who dat? DAT. Who dat?
Who dat? All right. Let's hope the Saints are that.
Who that said they gonna beat Lil Wayne?
All right. Oh, okay. That's a good way to remember that. Who that said? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, obviously not my lyric, but yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But and you won't hear that at the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that much.
You won't. Yeah. That's true. You will not.
All right. Let's move on. We got one more matchup to cover before we get into some efficiency, landscape, and model prediction stuff. Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys. We make the #2. This opened at 1.5, so no edge really from either perspective at this point. But the Baltimore Ravens, Seth, I don't know what to make of this team yet. Very, very confusing, frankly. They're looking to avoid their first 0-3 start since I think 2015. But if you can answer this question succinctly, like what has to change for them to be successful, just to even like stay in this game? Because they dropped a dud last week against the Raiders. In my opinion, that was a game we were on. They let us down. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens did Lamar Jackson and Ravens bullshit like they have been known to in the past. So yeah, what do you make of this team and what's got to change for them?
Yeah, I mean, and collapsing is the way to put it. I mean, we had a -8. They were winning by 10 in the fourth and lost the game. Not only did they not cover, the best thing they can do is not play Gardner Minshew in week 2. I swear he is the fucking Ravens killer. I don't know. I can't lie. There are some alarm bells going off this team. I know a lot of people had questions at offensive line for Baltimore, and then defense. They lost a ton in free agency and their defensive coordinator. Currently, Baltimore on defense is 26 against the pass, but 3rd against the rush. So they are not figuring it out, and you can throw all over them. But as of right now, Dak is actually not playing very well. We're talking about the 27th pass efficient team for Dallas. They're running the hell out of the ball with a 9th ranked overall rushing attack. So I'm not sure. The Baltimore Ravens are kind of in a similar boat. They're not really throwing the ball very well, 19th with the pass, but 3rd in rushing. The question becomes, what does this look like for Dallas? What are you getting? Because they're kind of the opposite. They're really struggling against defending the rush. 32nd, they're the worst in the league, but they're okay against the pass. So is this just like Derrick Henry and Lamar just run all over Dallas? You can see our model points in the direction of the Ravens. I actually think that the market has moved off this. No, it's moved a bit down. So it's -1 now instead of 1.5. Okay. I think the market's kind of pretty much priced okay. I don't see any huge edge. The question I have, though, is Baltimore on their way out and regressing defensively. And kind of those woes or worries that everyone had are coming to fruition because they are not who they were last year. This is one of the best teams in history. The Ravens were, and I'd be starting to be concerned. And is this the game, if you're a Dallas fan, that the cycle starts all over again and Dak has his first successful game?
Don't make me pull up the meme again.
Maybe next week. It's a meme loading. You know what I mean? I unfortunately for the Dallas fans, I think meme is currently loading because this has got to be the game that you go after the Ravens through the pass. I mean, 26 on defense, the Ravens are like, yes, Dak has struggled, but we know Dak can have success. This is the same kind of situation for Detroit. I think this is the game where you got to try to throw it, 30, 32 times a game.
Yeah, on the flip side, though, I wonder if this is the game where Baltimore maybe kind of leans into what a lot of people thought their identity was going to be, and that's just one of the most dominating run teams in the league. Dallas right now is dead last in the league in rush EPA allowed.
Yeah,
and Baltimore is still a top three team in terms of rushing efficiency. So do they wise up, for lack of a better term, and just try to jam it down their throat?
Yeah, it's fair. This is like where both teams can get right. Someone's got to lose, which it's literally a pick 'em. It's -1. That's exactly what the spread is telling us.
Yeah. But some pretty go ahead, Steve.
No, I was gonna say, I think that's spot on. And quite frankly, people are coming into this game and they're saying, which defense is going to show up for Dallas, because that domination against Cleveland is looking a little less impressive given what Cleveland did against Jacksonville. They got the game, but they only scored 18 points here, and Deshaun didn't look good at all again. So, what are we really seeing here? And I think this is one of the ones where it looks sort of unconventional and counterintuitive, because you're looking at, the defensive expected points here, and you see both these teams have negative numbers there, which is really good. But what you're looking at, what we already mentioned, it's strength on weakness. And I think this game actually has a sneaky chance of being a shootout through and through.
Yeah,
and so and the market agrees. This opened at 47 and immediately jumped to 49.5. So if all goes well, and I agree with you, Seth, Dak's biggest issue is he will make mistakes with the ball in his hand, but best believe before those mistakes happen, he will put up numbers. He will put up yards. He will move the ball. And this is the defense to do it against. It's just that he's not very clutch when it matters the most. And quite frankly, neither are the Ravens to that extent. So this has points written all over against two teams who really entered this season should be considered as dominant defenses. I think it's just a poor matchup on both teams' part.
Yeah, someone's got to lose, unfortunately, for both these fan bases.
Yeah,
hopefully, Baltimore's basically hoping they're not 0-3, right? And that's a huge deal.
Yeah,
huge
deal. Yeah, so it should be a good chess match, as far as I'm concerned. Which team's going to be able to lean into their strength more. So we'll see how it goes, boys. All right, let's hit zoom out. we got 2 weeks in the books already. Looking ahead to week 3 here. Let's pull up our EP per play landscape here. I mean, let's just call out a couple of things here. Number one, did the Panthers do the right thing? Benching Bryce Young, calling up Andy Dalton.
It's all about perspective. They didn't do the right thing for us. Our model loved the Raiders this week. If Young was going to start, I mean, he sucks. Like a shout out to him. Look, I get it. He's a human being, so it just I don't know what we're getting out of Andy Dalton. I mean, the model basically makes it around what the market is at 5 with him, but that's a huge difference from what it makes this team with Bryce Young. So I think it sounds like it probably was the right move.
I guess that was a ill-advised attempt at trying to ask a gotcha question. There's no way they can get worse, right? They have to. I mean, they have to improve with the veteran behind center. At least that's probably their thought, and probably what everyone else is hoping.
But do they though? Right? Because I mean, you look at this, and I get where you're coming from. I get what you're saying here, and I think for Bryce, it sucks because sure, there is some level of accountability at the player level, but there was actually a clip going around with Tom Brady, kind of discussing the situation, and really the whole system is absolutely fucked, right? I mean, you're think about the Patrick Mahomes, the Jordan Loves, right? The people who are coming in here, getting some time to develop as a player before being pushed out to go save a franchise. I mean, you look at these high Justin Fields. You look at these high draft quarterbacks. These things rarely work out. It's memorable when they do, right? And so it's really tough. And I bring that up because look at 2 former Carolina Panther quarterbacks who absolutely sucked. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield during their time in Carolina, and look at them now, both undefeated, both living the best years of their life right now. I mean, Baker got out of a plane from Carolina, won a game in LA the next day, essentially. That's how bad this system potentially could be, right? And so you really have to ask yourself, is it Bryce? Sure. Some of him. Is it the system in Carolina? Sure, there's seen a lot of that. And is it just the management? I mean, again, this is a team that, shout out Chicago, we got DJ Moore, Tyreek Stevenson, Torrey, our punter. We got Caleb Williams and another 2025 draft pick for Bryce Young. They got fleeced. So the decision making from top to bottom is horrible in Carolina, and I feel bad for anyone that's a part of that organization.
And they got fleeced, and they could have taken Stroud. Don't forget that. Also needs to add insult to injury.
Yeah. Compounding.
I think you're right though, Kevin. I don't think that they can get worse. I really don't. I mean, I would agree with that statement, and market agrees. That movement from reopened at 5.5, 5. That's 2. That's 2 spot, 2 points or whatever, right? So I think they agree.
Okay. All right. Let's focus on a couple other elements here real quick before we go to the model here. So, one team that is I don't even know the right word, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. Let Baker bake, baby.
Okay, they're 6 games too late. I remember last season I had all these futures for them.
Yeah.
And then they played Detroit, and the market was buying. They won the wrong Detroit game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was supposed to be last year, damn it.
I have to say, I'm not surprised. This is why I was betting them last year. They won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. I understand Tom Brady, best quarterback of all time. But Tom Brady cannot win a Super Bowl on his own. If that was the case, he would literally have every Super Bowl. I'm just confused. This is a Super Bowl roster. If you put a seemingly good quarterback or even an average quarterback, which everybody I thought would agree with, but maybe Baker's better than average. I mean, I'm not surprised by this outcome.
Yeah. And not to pile it on the Panthers either, but 2 former Panthers quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, you look at where these teams are respectively, and it must be something in Carolina, man. They just
that's what I said. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Give Bryce another chance.
You can make the same argument against the Jets. Sometimes the producer Eric saying fire the GM. They did. They did fire the GM. They cleaned house last year. This is an owner problem potentially.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, so we got there's a lot. I mean, obviously a lot going on in the first couple of weeks of the season, but this EPA landscape will continue to be updated, and we'll see how these teams evolve or not,
Hey, can
or
we
devolve
give one
maybe.
quick? I'm sorry. Can we get one quick shout out though? Just for we're talking about quarterbacks here. Primetime Kirk. Primetime Kirk came in Monday Night Football, broke all of our hearts.
Good.
But we're talking about redemption. This has been the year of redemption quarterbacks. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, we call that regression to the mean. That's what happens when you bet effects
Yeah.
that aren't real.
Yeah.
Newsflash: every NFL game is on TV. Every single one of them.
Shout out. All right. Interesting stuff first couple of weeks, but let's talk about our model predictions heading into week 3, shall we? So model sitting at 6-4 so far. So, overall still happy with the results a couple weeks in. We got a few more games on the slate here. So Seth, I'll let you roll through that in a second here. But want to remind you guys too, we have season long, monthly long, and weekly subscriptions available on our site, btb-analytics.com. We build models and predict outcomes for both NFL and for college. And one of the core tenets and kind of what we believe, in doing this whole thing is it takes a lot of, maybe I'll call it the guesswork out of trying to get these games right. Most people out there, and this includes all of us too, before this journey, where we're probably losing bettors. We had no idea what we were doing. There's been a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, blood, sweat, tears, all that put into the development of these models. And we, frankly, just to kind of elevator pitch it real quick, like gives you as bettors a fighting chance to win and to be
100%.
profitable. And we've shown that these models can be profitable. So if you guys are interested in joining the journey with us, again, those packages are available. Use code YT15, that's as in YouTube 15, 50% off any package for the remainder of the season. So 6-4 heading into week 3, Seth. Let's talk about what we got on the slate for NFL for this week.
Yeah, bigger volume. We have a couple games that came through after a Monday night game. So we ended up with 6 plays. We are on the Saints -2.5. We're on Kansas City -3.5, which when it reopened at 3.5. Minnesota +2.5, which we talked about. Tampa Bay -6.5. We're on Cincinnati -7.5. Buffalo -5.5. So I feel pretty good about the card. We're betting on 2 of the 3 rookies starting, so that's good that the model's picking up on that. We talked about the Saints bet. That's got to be my favorite bet. I actually like the Vikings bet quite a lot as well, but yeah, we'll see. I'm really curious on who Atlanta is. I have to say that's the one, and Kansas City, and who they're going to be without Pacheco. I'm not as concerned betting that. I can already hear the trolls. Let me know in the comments so I can respond back to you and tell you why you're wrong. Like, I can just tell you, looking at this data all the time, rushing efficiency is a plug and play type of thing. It's usually by committee. There's usually many backs that contributed to it. Pretty much all the NFL teams have negative EPA rushes. Like, you're running the ball to keep balance, to be able to do whatever you're going to do in the passing game. That's basically what the current NFL is. So I'm not as concerned about the Pacheco injury there, but still interested to see who this Atlanta team is after 2 really different starts.
Yeah. And look no further. I know they lost last week to Minnesota, but the Niners, CMC going out, consensus number 1 running back. They Jordan Mason, undrafted or 7th round guy, I forget.
Undrafted, I believe.
Undrafted dude just plucked him out of thin air.
Year in and year out.
Constantly.
Look, they don't pay running backs for a reason. Shout out Philly. You guys paid your running back and you can't catch.
God bless.
Do you guys kick the ball? Do you kick the ball or you go for it there? I in real time, I was like, I think you should be going for this here, because you either you don't get it and you have a longer drive and you seemingly run on that play, so the clock's running, or you get it and the game's over.
Yeah.
I think you run it, you go for it both times. Yeah.
You run it on 3rd and run it on 4th. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe not 4th down, whatever. You try to just get the play, but just get the first down. But yeah, you run it. If they let 40 more seconds go off the clock, probably just about a minute, if not less.
I'm not upset with the play call, because it clearly worked. Like,
yeah, it was there. It was there.
Open play. No, but I'm saying, okay, so he doesn't catch it, he drops it. Why kick the field goal?
Yeah, that I agree with. Yeah, I think they just flubbed the game management at the end there. So Oh well. All right, boys. We
Fly,
got
fly.
a packed weekend. Yeah, the most volume we've had in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. So should be a very heart palpitating weekend, especially on Sunday. So should be good. But yeah, we're 6-4, hoping for another winning weekend. So we shall see how it all turns out. Appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to like the video, hit that subscribe button on the channel as well. Helps us out tremendously. Glad to be back with you boys. We'll be looking forward to next week. We're reaching almost the quarter mark in the NFL. Absolutely wild. So, all right, boys and girls, appreciate y'all being here. We're out until next week. Peace.